Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash, double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity, and a shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash, Brakatum. So, it's no secret that the new Syrian leader, which is the puppet that they put in, is helping the Israeli state. Yes, Syrian, the new interim Syrian president, Al-Jilani, is helping the Israeli state to hunt down and kill Hezbollah. So, Hezbollah is on the side of Iran. You see, everybody has to pick a side in this war. And like everything else, though, well, we already know that Al-Jilani was installed by the Israeli state, and by Turkey, for that matter. But it's just a matter of time that Turkey turns against the Israeli state, and that's by being dragged into this war. You know, for right now, Turkey hasn't really been dragged in yet. There's been a few warnings between Iran and Turkey here and there, you know, about their airspace and all that. But pretty much so, it doesn't look like Iran's actually hit Turkey at all. You know, even though, you know, Erdogan's saying they don't want to get caught in that. But at the same time, though, the Kurds is their common enemy. And the U.S. is trying to exploit the Kurdistan region to try to get in there, as you know. A lot of blackouts on this, but the main thing is, though, is that it's already here. World War III is already here. The nuclear part of it, well, that's going to come later. So, I'm going to get into this some. And, you know, here's some news reports, because, you know, you got to find out what's actual and what's rumors. So, you know, it's among the lines of wars and rumors of wars, you know, rumors of things that are happening, because they may not be entirely accurate. Now, there is talk that Ben Gvir has been killed, as well as King Bibi's brother being killed, but there's rumors that King Bibi may be dead. That's a rumor. The others are confirmed kills. So, you know, a lot of blackouts as well, because, as you know, Tehran, you know, they've been hit with chemical warfare. When you blow up the oil, and there's nothing but acid rain, that's chemical warfare. That's weapons of mass destruction. Who did that? The U.S. and Israeli state. So, who uses weapons of mass destruction? The U.S. and Israeli state.
The war in Iran reached a new height over the weekend, with the United States and Israel attacking infrastructure in the Islamic Republic, provoking a serious response. The first attack took place early on March 7th and targeted a water desalinization plant on Qashim Island. Iran's Foreign Minister Saeed Abbas Araghchi held the U.S. responsible, warning that attacking Iran's infrastructure is a dangerous move with grave consequences. He added that the U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. Later on the same day, Israel escalated, attacking oil depots in the Kuhak and Shahram areas of the Iranian capital Tehran, as well as in the nearby city of Karaj. Some 30 large oil tanks were reportedly hit. The Israeli military claimed that the strikes targeted only depots serving Iranian forces. The strikes killed 4 civilians and caused what can only be described as an environmental disaster. The sky over Tehran was blanketed with thick, choking smoke, with reports of oil-saturated raindrops from black clouds raining down on the capital after the strikes. The response came fast from Iran. Late on March 7th, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said that it attacked a refinery in the port city of Haifa in Israel. The next day, March 8th, Kuwait reported Iranian strikes on fuel tanks at the Kuwait International Airport, where a massive fire was reported. Bahrain also announced that strikes launched from the Islamic Republic hit a water desalinization plant. On March 9th, Iran launched an even bigger attack against Bahrain. The Al Ma'amir oil facility took a serious hit. The strikes caused a fire at the complex, along with material damage. Bahrain's state oil company, BOPCO, declared force majeure for its shipments after the attack. Amid this escalation, the price of oil spiked well over $110 per barrel. Taking into consideration that the Israeli-American war has already forced Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates to cut production, the price of oil will not likely return to pre-war levels anytime soon. The U.S. was reportedly angered with the Israeli strikes on Iranian oil depots, which started the escalation. One report by Axios revealed that American officials are concerned that strikes on infrastructure that serves ordinary Iranians could backfire strategically, rallying Iranian society to support the government and drive up oil prices even higher. Israel could attack infrastructure again, despite the agreement with the U.S., as it is clearly working to escalate and widen the war as much as possible. Iran is guaranteed to respond, and has already warned that its retaliation will not be limited to Israel, but will also include U.S. energy assets in the entire Middle East.
So, again, this is getting a lot bigger, and there's more rumors as well. I'm going to get into that, because like everything else, though, World War III is already here. And the MOTB is the only thing in between that has to happen in order for it to go nuclear. U.S.-made missile reportedly found near school strike, which Trump initially blamed on Iran. Remember that? Donald Trump said that it was Iran, that Iran bombed the girls' school, just to get out of it when the reporters were asking him. And then he really talked a bunch of shit, but this is in fact the U.S. bomb, and they have proof of it. That's a verified picture that they have of it. While Donald Trump initially blamed Iran for the attack on Iranian elementary school last month, evidence appears to be mounting that the school may have been inadvertently hit by a U.S. missile during a strike targeting the adjacent naval base. So, like everything else, though, they they have to undo this report, right? Because this came from NBC News. Shows a Tomahawk missile hitting. So let's go ahead and play this some. They're really trying to get out of this.
Tonight, this new video, geolocated and verified by NBC News, shows what experts say is a U.S. Tomahawk missile over the size of Manab, Iran. Adding evidence, the experts say, that an American missile likely hit the Shajre Taibeh Elementary School during the first hours of U.S.-Israeli operations on February 28th. Iranian officials say the airstrikes, which also hit a compound once home to a military base, killed more than 170 people, mostly children.
I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries. That's being investigated right now.
Weapons expert Jeffrey Lewis says this new video is clear.
I think the munition that is visible in that video is clearly a Tomahawk. It's long, cylindrical, it has a set of wings, and really no other country in this conflict has a munition that looks like that.
Yep.
NBC News spoke with 4 other weapons experts who agree the video, which was published on Iranian state media, shows a U.S. Tomahawk. The U.S. military has publicly said Tomahawks were launched in the first hours of the war, even releasing this video. Over the weekend, a reporter asked President Trump if the U.S. was responsible.
No, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Today, NBC News spoke on the phone with a father who said his 8-year-old daughter Zahra was killed in the strikes. There is no crime greater than this, he said, that so many children, boys and girls, innocent little ones, were torn apart.
And like everything else, though, there's no doubt, it's unrefutable that it was a U.S. Tomahawk cruise missile, but you see how it is, because Trump, pretty much his main game, he's always been an investor, he's been a yuppie motherfucker. He doesn't know shit, and he doesn't know when to shut his mouth. That's who he is as Nero 47 now. But as a king, man, he's a fierce king and cruel lord. The one that's spoken of in Isaiah chapter 19. And I concur with Apostle Tahar on this. France cannot approve U.S.-Israeli strikes against Iran. And so, a lot of these NATO nations are like, what are you fucking doing? What are you doing here? How's that benefiting us? How's that, making us more safe? France cannot approve strikes by U.S. and Israeli terrorists on Iran as they are being carried out outside international law and clearly without defined objectives. Foreign Minister said Tuesday. Speaking on France too, Barra said the strikes lacked clear strategic goals and did not comply with international legal standards. Barra stressed that France is not involved in the conflict. We do not approve of the war, and we are not participating in it, he said. He also called for rapid de-escalation, urging Iran to change its regional posture. We expect Iran to renounce being a destabilizing and dangerous power, he said. But that's just it, though, is that they are only considered that by the Israeli state, who wants to control everything. They're never going to relinquish control. So that's a pipe dream, thinking that, oh, well, we'll just deal with the Israelis. It's not happening. It never will. Streets aflame and acid rain as Israeli strikes on Iranian fuel depots compared to chemical warfare. And that's exactly what it is. The attempt to topple the government in Tehran, pushing West Asia into an increasingly deadly spiral of destruction. Israeli strikes against oil storage facilities near Tehran over the weekend typically turned the Iranian capital into a fire-lit hellscape with long-term environmental and health damage expected. Well, we already know what the Exxon spill did, and this is an environmental disaster all over Tehran. You know, so though Israeli state claimed that its targets were military, said that the effects compared to chemical warfare on civilians, even supporters of the U.S.-Israeli regime war, expressed unease. So, you know, this is just, you know, doing what Israeli state does best. But again, Iran did retaliate for that. And they had the audacity to accuse Saddam Hussein of setting the oil fields on fire. Guaranteed that that was the U.S. to blame Iraq. You know? I can almost guarantee you that. But like everything else, so that was then. This is now. So I got a bunch of videos here because you're still seeing uproars of the people and just resistance. People just don't want to be involved in this shit. But they're being dragged into it. You know, the draft, well, it's looking like a likelihood. And this is coming from those active duty. You can see he's active duty.
Listen up. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently said he's been waiting 40 years. Listen up. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently said he's been waiting 40 years for this moment. Think about that. 40 years waiting for the right crisis, the right chaos in Washington, and the right American president. And now he's finally got one. A president foolish enough to drag the United States into this war. But here's the truth. Sending American troops into someone else's war has never made our country stronger. It only means more Americans coming home in coffins. And that is not in America's best interest.
So that's just one of many rants, as there are more. And it's kind of funny, there's this old Motorhead song that used to be the theme song that they used for Triple H, but yet it totally matches who Donald Trump is. You know, bow down to the king, you know. And what's hilarious about that is it really goes into the depths. It goes in depth to a fierce king and cruel lord, which we know Donald Trump to be. But like everything else, though, allies are abandoning Trump on this. You already heard what France said, but this podcast, which happens to be on Facebook, also goes into it.
All hell is breaking loose as Donald Trump's former allies in the Middle East and elsewhere are refusing to help Donald Trump and his regime in this war with any offensive operations. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and others are saying, count me out. Also, former allies of the United States, and it pains me to say this though, like Spain, France, and the United Kingdom and others are like, we'll do a defensive posture in this war, but we're not helping you offensively right now. This is an unlawful war. We heard Prime Minister Carney of Canada also say that, and you know, these leaders, whether it's French President Emmanuel Macron or Prime Minister Carney of Canada, they're the ones now calling up all these leaders in the Middle East, and they're trying to say, look, we've got your back. No, the United States is just in an utter state of disarray as a result of Donald Trump's warmongering right now. And so Donald Trump sends Lindsey Graham to go on state regime media and just start threatening all of these countries. Hey, Saudi Arabia, you're not ever going to be in a defense treaty with us if you don't go to war with us right now. To all these Middle East countries, we are not going to be your friends if you don't help us out.
Sounds like the tariffs.
Spain, we should probably kick you out of NATO and take away your Air Force bases. Your behavior is totally unacceptable. I mean, you have a completely and utterly unhinged Lindsey Graham right now. And then meanwhile, if you listen to the statements that are coming out in a lot of these Arab nations and a lot of their leadership right there and some of their wealthy business people right there, you know, they're saying to the United States, don't drag us into this at all. We know
Turkey is definitely saying that.
You invaded Iran, and we're not here making excuses and pretending that Iran's some great nation. They are causing great instability. But we warned you about precisely this, and you didn't consult us, and you did this unlawful war against Iran, and now the Middle East countries are paying the price for your behavior. Let's just go through this piece by piece, as we always do here on the Midas Touch Network, with the receipt, giving you facts all the facts and nothing but the facts. Also, make sure you hit subscribe. You may think you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, but you may not actually be subscribed, so just double check.
Okay, he has a YouTube channel.
Earlier in the day yesterday, Lindsey Graham starts
Right, kind of on
Saudi
Facebook.
Arabia if it doesn't join the fight against Iran. Why should we do any defense agreement with you? You call yourself the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but you're unwilling to join a fight for mutual interest? Hopefully this changes soon. If not, consequences will follow, MBS. And should be noted that the Iranian Foreign Minister, Araghchi, says Saudi officials are fully committed to not letting their territory, water, and airspace be used against Iran. You have Lindsey Graham going on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and he just ticks off every nation. Spain, Macron, Great Britain, wake up. Saudi Arabia,
Yep,
Qatar, UAE.
they watch Fox News too, and they listen to the rhetoric coming out of D.C.
And then Hannity saying that. And Lindsey
Putting their
Graham,
foot in the
God bless
mouth.
Israel. God bless Israel. We should move all of our stuff to Israel. Until my dying day, Lindsey Graham says, I'm with Israel. How about the United States of America? What the hell are we doing for the American people who can't afford things right now? Who can't pay their rent, who can't afford to go to university or send their kids to school, who can't afford groceries, who are getting their health care ripped away. You know, manufacturing jobs right now are less in 2026 than they were when Trump started doing tariffs in 2018 during his first term. Donald Trump's causing a manufacturing recession. Right now, we are in a jobs recession, but I digress. Here's Lindsey Graham attacking Spain and saying, basically, I'm encouraging Donald Trump to move all of our bases out of Spain. Here, play this clip.
To our friends in Spain, man, you've lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore.
Guess what? They don't need your fucking bases.
Out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end.
And then he says about Saudi Arabia, you have an obligation to help us. Our embassy was hit. You must go to war with us. Saudi Arabia's like, no thank you, play this clip.
Finally, to my friends in Saudi Arabia, I've been your biggest champion. I think the Crown Prince has taken Saudi Arabia in a completely different direction in a good way. But here's what I want to say to Saudi Arabia tonight. I'm willing to do a mutual defense agreement with your country to give you protection in perpetuity. Under the agreement I've been pushing, and I hope we can continue to talk about.
You can't even protect yourself,
you fuck. If you attack Iran, we would go to war for you. To Saudi Arabia, our embassy was hit in Riyadh. Do you not have an obligation to join the fight with us? You've yet to do that. So if you do not believe the American embassy being attacked in Riyadh...
Well, this guy has bigger mouth than Trump. Don't wonder why Trump likes him.
You joined the Abraham Accords when nobody else would. You've been a great partner, but you said today publicly at the UN, your country would not be used to join the fight against the Ayatollahs.
And this is where Hannity's like, Spain, Macron, you need to step up. And Lindsey Graham's like, God bless Israel. They're the only ones with us right now. You're close, Lindsey, to understanding the issue right now. You're close, Lindsey. You're the issue. What you're saying there's the problem. Here, play this clip.
God bless you for trying. God bless you for destroying this regime.
Spain, Macron, and Great Britain, they either wake up. This is their tipping point moment too. Just like the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, you decide now. UAE, decide now. Qatar, decide now. Because I'm a little sick and tired of the constant threading of needles. They wanted the Iranians stopped as much as the Israelis did.
Absolutely. God bless Israel. We should move all our stuff to Israel. Thank you.
And then Lindsey Graham again. He's a proxy for Trump. Like, this is state regime media, right? So you have Lindsey Graham, Hannity. They're programmed what to say by Donald Trump. So this is their move to attack the rest of the world. Here's what Lindsey Graham
says. Just like they were during Bush.
Iran still stands when this is over. We've made a mistake. Okay, so now it is about regime change again. Here, play this clip.
I believe with all my heart and soul, if the regime in Iran still stands when this is over, we've made a mistake. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would use it. They've been lying about what they're doing with their nuclear program. They want to bomb because they're Nazis. They're crazy.
More attacks on Saudi Arabia. Let's play it.
Finally, to my friends in Saudi Arabia, I've been your biggest champion. I think the Crown Prince has taken Saudi Arabia in a completely different direction in a good way. But here's what I want to say to Saudi Arabia tonight. I'm willing to do a mutual defense agreement with your country to give you protection in perpetuity. Under the agreement I've been pushing, and I hope we can continue to talk about, if you're attacked by Iran, we would go to war for you.
And here Lindsey Graham says, I will be with Israel until my dying day. Until my dying day. Here, play this clip.
All the anti-Semites, all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I'll be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus.
Okay, I've got some important news, so just give me a quick minute to break it down. Trump's war against Iran is creating a massive energy crisis right now, and we are in a much worse place than we would be if Trump wasn't so hostile to clean energy. Since Trump took office, he's taken a sledgehammer to clean energy initiatives. He's been closing clean energy plants and canceling projects, and the negative effects of these moves extend far beyond the environment itself.
So, like everything else, yeah. Trump has definitely made America take the Donald. It's tanked. The American economy is no more. You can say that it's gone. And like everything else, so this is a bigger rumor that's going around, and that the Israeli state could use cluster bombs or even a nuclear weapon, aka, their Samson option, because things ain't going their way. Top military advisor says Israeli state will drop nuclear bomb if Iran does not submit. The stakes of the 2026 conflict have reached an unprecedented level following reports that senior Israeli officials are weighing the ultimate strategic deterrent. The rhetoric shift towards nuclear signaling suggests that conventional military options are being viewed as insufficient to force a total cessation of hostilities from Tehran's new leadership. While Israeli state historically maintained policy of nuclear opacity, the current escalation appears to be breaking. So, you're hearing rumors that they're going to drop that bomb on them. Starting that. And like everything else, though, this terrorist here was also killed. Reports have been circling that Ben Gvir, who served as the Minister of National Security, killed in Iranian retaliatory strikes. So, this piece of shit, who was really bloodthirsty during and still ongoing onslaught against Gaza, this piece of shit looks like he came to his end. And too bad it's not King Bibi yet. There's a rumor that they might have got him, but I don't know. But we're going to look at this rumor here because there is unconfirmed reports. So again, this is just the rumors section. And this is from a guy called The Sweet Potato. I couldn't find his YouTube channels, but he definitely has a good Facebook channel. And this is a rumor going on.
Benjamin Netanyahu hit by Iranian missile, ? Iranian media makes bombshell claim. In this video, I will be discussing about this one, plus some other topics in regards to the assassination going on right now in Israel. Looks like when Israel said, we're going to change the regime in Iran, looks like Iran is changing the regime in Israel. What we know so far? Well, it is coming on the news right now that this is an ongoing operation, so some other members from Israeli government is also targeted. Claims made by Iranian media regarding the status of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu alongside reports of missile exchanges is making headlines. Now, Iran claims that Iranian media claims specifically Tasnim News Agency. Now, Tasnim News Agency is a news agency that I quote sometimes because I do find their news to be credible. Therefore, in this case, I think they are not bluffing about this, given the fact that we have seen huge barrages of missiles hitting Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and elsewhere in Israel. Therefore, I would be leaned quite a bit to believe this is story from Tasnim News Agency this time as well. Now, they linked to the IRGC. This report has also linked to the IRGC, has been speculating that Netanyahu was killed or wounded in a missile strike. The speculation is based on circumstantial points such as Netanyahu's temporary absence from public appearances, tightened security at his residence, and postponed diplomatic visits. Diplomatic visits. And guys, we have seen him flying in and out of Germany at the same time. I have posted about this one too. TRT News, they have reported on this. The report also cited claims by former U.S. intelligence officer Scott Reeder alleging a strike on Netanyahu's hideout. What Scott Reeder said is actually creating a lot of shockwaves.
Iran is going to start to take out the totality of Israel's leadership. This is the reality of this conflict. Israel played the regime change game. It's going to be the Israelis that are going to be paying the highest price. The Iranians are no longer wearing kid gloves. They've taken them off and they're coming in bare knuckle. Last night, the Iranians struck the home of Benjamin Netanyahu. They killed his brother. They struck the home of Ben Gvir. He is seriously wounded, may not survive. Iran is going to start to take out the totality of Israel's leadership. This is the reality of this conflict. Israel played the regime change game. It's going to be the Israelis that are going to be paying the highest price.
Okay. What we also are not seeing is Ben Gvir in public. We are not seeing Bezalel Smotrich. Bezalel Smotrich, he lost his son, according to one person who tweeted in Hebrew and said he paid tribute to his son, that he lost his life. Therefore, it is looks like to me becoming quite evident that yes, indeed, Netanyahu was hit. We do not know if he died or if he's wounded or to what extent, but things are looking pretty ugly for this devil. Now, what else do we know is that the contradicting evidence includes an official statement from Netanyahu's office on March 7 and a visit to a missile impact site. These claims have been dismissed by Tel Aviv as fake news, missile exchanges, and military action. Iran launched fresh ballistic missiles targeting northern and central Israel. The ongoing operation is becoming more and more intense. Now, in response, the Israeli Defense
And you notice Zelensky with King Baby
airstrikes on Tehran, claiming to have killed thousands of Iranian military personnel and destroying key infrastructure, including the Quds Forces transportation network. The IDF reported striking numerous Hezbollah targets in Lebanon and Beirut impact on Israel. Let's talk about that. A powerful wave of Iranian missile strike resulted in injuries in central Israel, with officials suspecting the use of cluster warheads. Despite Israel's advanced defense systems like the Iron Dome and David Sling, the intensity of these strikes caused significant damage to streets and infrastructure. Now, if you add them all up, it is complete, like, madness going on right now with this war. And of course, Donald Trump is panicking at the moment. He's worried about Netanyahu's health, his well-being, because this guy is blackmailed by Netanyahu, so I'm sure Trump is in conversation with him on the phone. Obviously he is, because of the war situation. And of course, if he's dead, or if he's wounded to the point where Donald Trump cannot talk to him, it will be so pathetic. But Donald Trump right now is worrying not just for Netanyahu's life, but also for his own safety and security and his impeachment that is upcoming. Subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one.
Yeah, and that's another thing is that, his political career, well, you already know it's over. But I'm not looking at there going to be another guy. And we already know that it doesn't even matter anyways. Either side, Democrat or Republican, they're still going to choose Israel first. The Israeli state. But nonetheless, though, even more so about the idea of dropping a dirty bomb or dropping a nuclear weapon against Iran. Well, King Baby told me something shocking, and this is Dennis Kunsch, who talked to Redacted yesterday.
Can I take you back to 2002? Can I take you back to September 12th, 2002? I think you know what happened on that day when you sat across from Netanyahu in Congress. And of course,
yep, a false flag that started everything.
That question, of course, has surfaced and people are sharing it all over the internet, of course. Once again, I love seeing you ask him, are there any other countries that we should be concerned about? And Netanyahu at that point turns to you and says, he snaps at you, by the way, in this condescending way, but let me finish what I'm talking about here, as if he holds court over the entire U.S. Congress even then. And he tells you that one of the main concerns is Iran. So, 24 years ago, he was telling you this. And Congress stood fast against it. I don't know. But what do you think has changed now in 24 years? Has Israel managed to get its teeth and claws into just about every corner of Congress, and that's what's changed?
Well, they certainly have a greater hold on Congress. There's no question about that. And they've been impactful in elections. AIPAC in particular has helped to elect or defeat members of Congress, depending on where they stand on favoring Israel.
Or Epstein files to hold over those that don't do what they want.
Who came to the United States to beat the drum for war against Iraq. He helped to propel the weapons of mass destruction narrative that led the United States Congress to, in October of 2002, to pass a resolution that put us on the path to war with Iraq. That was part of Netanyahu's mission. Now with Iran, his mission has been the same for 30 years. When it comes to Iran, he's been BB1 note. Iran
leaving Iran last.
At any time.
They're the last surviving country.
Hatred towards Iran. And I would say, generally speaking, American people aren't really aware of what our government has done in Iran. They don't know about 1953, when we overthrew a democratically elected government of Mossadegh. They don't understand how we set in motion the forces that led to the 1979 Iranian Revolution. They don't understand the psychology of the Iranian people, who are not afraid. They don't understand the...
Yeah, they don't know Persian history
of Iran, which is not a pushover.
They were warriors.
Which had 1% of the military capability of the United States. Venezuela, which really had no defense at all. This is a technologically advanced nation of 93 million people who have the capacity to fight back, and they will with everything they have. And when I spoke to Netanyahu, what was interesting, I talked to him afterwards out in the hall, in addition to what, the exchange that everyone can see on the internet. I talked to Mr. Netanyahu out in the hall. We have some mutual acquaintances from Cleveland, And so I, began with that, and then I said, look, you have all of these ambitions to go after all these countries, including Syria and Libya, Syria, and Iran. I said, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it?
Right.
And his response was, oh, no, you would have to do it. You would have to do it. And there's this toxic relationship that's developed between Israel and the United States, which has brought about carnage in the Middle East and has ruined any hope that America would have to try to be an honest broker of peace in the region. And we have, the equation is flipped. We've been Israel's cat's paw. And why is Netanyahu doing this right now? Because he's trying to avoid going to jail. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, just like Trump.
Coalition in the Likud with Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who are as objectionable people as you will ever find involved in government at any level anywhere, came about because Netanyahu is in trouble politically in Israel, and so you take this admixture of his political troubles, of his playing with fire of the greater Israel, whether it's from the Euphrates to the Nile or wherever, and Trump's lack of understanding that he's not a king, he's a president, and that as president he's governed by laws, and that's out the window. So you put these kind of things together, and you have the basis for a wider war.
Disaster, really.
And like everything else, though, it has been a complete disaster. As Apostle Har went into. It's a Pandora's box that can never, ever be closed. And here's what's going to go on with the economy, which will usher in the MOTB, the impending implants that everybody's going to have to receive in order to be able to buy or sell. Because pretty much, though, the petrodollar is what controlled everything. Well, that's up in smoke in those countries. They're saying... Oh, and Iran even said even further, any country that breaks their ties with the U.S. will have safe passage in the Strait of Hormuz. But the U.S. will not. Neither will the Israeli state. So they can conduct businesses. But anybody acting they have to denounce their, pretty much they have to break their alliance with the U.S. and Israeli state. And they can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is definitely bigger. And, well, Trump has done nothing but, threaten tariffs, impose tariffs on all countries anyways, dealing with the U.S. I think that they'll probably take Iran's deal. That, okay, they can conduct business, they can get oil and everything else that they need going through there just fine if they cut ties with the U.S. Oh, here it is, a breakdown on what's going to happen, because like everything else, though, it is closed, and Iran is, they've threatened Iran's economy, especially when they hit the fuel, their oil reserves in Tehran, so they're going to destroy the U.S. economy. Now, that was probably the plan all along. That'll usher it in as this goes through.
Well, here's where this war stands tonight. Nearly 2 weeks into this conflict, the official story is already cracking, and the number of Americans wounded is slowly coming out. Now, yesterday we reported, based on sources, that the number of American wounded was at least 137. Well, after our report ran, what do you know? The Pentagon has now publicly acknowledged about 140 wounded. That confirms our sources on this. So why did it take a little news show, like our little show here at Redacted, to report this information? Like, why wasn't Fox News reporting this information?
Because...
I know, it's really weird. Why is the mainstream media silent on this? So the Pentagon finally comes out and actually admits to this. If the number was this high, why did the American people hear so little about it until now? That's a great question.
Because most people are turning on alternative media.
Sorry, I'm just going to pull my notes here.
Well, I guess Fox News likes to support the troops until they get hurt.
So Reuters comes out and reports this. Exclusive. As many as 150 U.S. troops wounded so far in Iran war. They just published this today, this morning. March 10th. That's remarkable. Exclusive. Just curious how that's an exclusive when we reported it yesterday. Whatever. Hey, Reuters, bite me. Anyway, this war is clearly not winding down, no matter what the messaging says. President Trump is saying the war could end very soon. But Iran says talks with the United States are off the table for now, that Tehran is prepared to keep striking as long as it takes, and they're vowing an eye for an eye. So what does an eye for an eye actually mean? Well, that's a great question. Does it mean, you killed our leader, we kill yours? Does it mean, hey, you killed all these girls who were the daughters of members of the Iranian Navy at a girls' school? Do we also do that to you? Like, what does actually an eye for an eye actually mean?
Does it mean we took out your water infrastructures, or you took out ours? So we do that.
Right.
Your gas infrastructure, civilian infrastructure. That's a war crime, but we did it.
Your
And that's what it's looking like.
Like, what exactly does that look like?
Eye for an eye.
The Strait of Hormuz is getting worse by the minute. U.S. intelligence tracking Iranian mine-laying threats now as Gulf energy infrastructure there is taking a major hit with about 1.9 million barrels per day of refining capacity across Bahrain, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. All down. CBS now says shipping through the Strait of Hormuz has ground to a virtual halt. Nothing getting through. That's of just a few minutes ago. And Israel is hammering Beirut's southern suburbs in Lebanon. So they've essentially invaded Lebanon.
Yep.
It's a shitstorm. And then there's the neocon political class in Washington saying the quiet part out loud. Senator Lindsey Graham, your favorite warmonger, is now openly talking about, going back to South Carolina to tell the sons and daughters in South Carolina, you got to send your loved ones to the Middle East. That's what I'm doing here in South Carolina. I got to tell them to go fight in the Middle East. And he's calling on other Middle East countries that have been sitting on the fence that we've supported.
Leading towards the draft.
Get off the fence. Go bomb Iran. Help out with Iran. And oh, by the way, Spain, we're pissed off at you because you don't want us using your air bases or airspace to bomb Iran. Listen.
Up to our allies, step up,
Yeah.
get our air bases.
Have to be reiterated.
We'll move all those airplanes to a country that would let us use them when we're threatened by a regime like Iran. To our friends in Spain, man, you've lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the Mideast, our friends in Saudi Arabia and other places, step forward and say, this is my fight too. I join America. I'm publicly involved in bringing this regime down. If you don't, you're making a great mistake and you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship with the United States. I say this as a friend.
Fuck America.
He's an odious friend.
Say this as a friend.
Why don't you pick up a gun and go fight yourself, you coward?
Yeah.
Like, I freaking hate that. Just calling so bluntly for somebody else to go die for his stupid cause.
Yeah.
Go fight it yourself.
I would love that.
Right, and I am so curious about this. I mean,
Or send his sons and daughters.
How many people in South Carolina are really walking up to him and saying, who are we going to get to fight with us? Who are we going to get to fight Iran? Worried about this. My son can go, but who's going with him? Let's make some war play dates. Who does that?
Larry Johnson is a former CIA analyst, NRA gun trainer, and he's been looking at all of this and doing some incredible writing over at his website, Sonar 21. Larry, thank you for joining us. Great to see you back on the show.
Hey guys, good to see you.
So I want to talk about the American war wounded first, because I know that this is near and dear to your heart, and of course something that you've been watching closely, and the lies, of course, that are coming out about this. Again, I spoke to sources over the past 48 hours that were telling us here at Redacted about 137 Americans wounded, and then the Pentagon comes out and then confirms.
And there's over 1,000 killed, but they definitely ain't going to tell you that.
Does that number sound low to you, or does that sound about right?
It's low.
It sounds a little low.
Yeah,
so on March 4th,
even he says
let's
it.
go to Germany, Stuttgart.
There are way more wounded.
West
If
of
there's
Germany.
that many dead,
There's a
you know there's
hospital
way more
called Landstuhl
wounded.
Regional Medical Center. Landstuhl's primary mission is to handle American war wounded. On March 4th, they issued a memo telling all the pregnant women that were about to give birth that, sorry, don't come here, we're not birthing any more babies. We've got to focus on our main mission. So that was the first clue that there were a lot of casualties inbound.
See?
I know, without mentioning his name, somebody who was involved dealing with the combat casualties during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he dealt with the personnel at Landstuhl, and he called someone up and said, I can't say anything, but there's a lot of casualties. Then 13 miles to the east of Landstuhl is an army base called Kaiserslautern. Kaiserslautern and the Stars and Stripes issued for that base had an appeal, a blood drive appeal. Hey, we need lots of people to show up and donate blood. So that was on March 5th. So I wrote about this March 6th. So I wrote about this 4 days ago. And that, we had a lot more casualties. And there are more coming. Because Iran's not going to stop. Right now we're getting signals that the Trump administration is reaching out, trying, let's talk ceasefire. Iran's having none of it. They've been betrayed twice by Donald Trump and his group of clowns.
Right.
And so they're not going to say, no. They've got the world by the testicles, is the polite way of saying it, withholding the Strait of Hormuz. They've shut down the movement of not only oil, liquid natural gas. They're the supplier of about 25% to 30% of the world's liquid natural gas, and about 30% to 35% of the world's urea, which is used for fertilizer. Now, that may not, I just learned that may not be as important as I once thought it was, because most of it comes out of Oman. Oman, you don't have to worry about things going through the Strait of Hormuz. But on oil and liquid natural gas, huge. 94% of the Philippines dependent upon the flow of gas, both liquid and the petroleum oil, out of the Persian Gulf. India, 80%. Japan, South Korea. So this is going to have a major impact on certain economies in the world. Now, I've said this ironically. I think Vladimir Putin's sitting there going, maybe Donald Trump really does like me, because what he's done is he's making Russia rich again. In a way, I mean, they're getting, they were first to sell their oil previously under sanctions at like $55 a barrel. Now they're getting $88, $90 a barrel.
Well, and they just opened it up to India. I mean, that story over the past 48 hours, so the United States has eased its restriction on Russian oil flowing to India. I mean, talk about an absolute disaster.
Well, yeah, remember what had happened there is India was playing a double game too. BRICS, India is the I in BRICS, and Iran is the new I in BRICS. And so what was India doing? Well, India was pretending to play along with the United States, but then going to Russia and saying, hey, Russia, we'll buy your oil, but we need a discount because we're going against the sanctions and we need to cover ourselves. So Russia said, okay, as a BRICS partner, we'll let you have it at 55. It was normally selling at 59. They let them have it for $55 dollars a barrel. So they got a discount.
So, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, please finish.
So now, when all of a sudden the oil tap is turned off, including the liquid natural gas, India goes running back to Russia. Now remember, on February 25 and 26, India was in Israel, buttering up the rear end of Bibi Netanyahu, kissing rear end all they could. Oh man, it was a love fest. We're partners with Israel. And then Israel attacks their BRICS partner. And what does India say? Nothing. Zero. They don't say a thing about the murdered girls. So now, all of a sudden, the oil's turned off. It's 9 days now with no oil coming out of there for India. They go running back to Russia. Hey, buddy, let's get back together. And Russia says, sure, that's great. But it's going to cost you $89 now a barrel.
So like everything else, they're still getting a discount, but not that much. And it's hilarious because that's still part of Elam. Elam is the Persian Empire, when it existed, because we know that Esau's divided states, but Elam is a very large race of people. And India is part of it. Pakistan's a part of it. I believe you got some in Afghanistan as well. That's part of it. Because like I said, Esau had broken up the Persian Empire when he created those states. But he never defeated the Persian Empire. Not even as King Alexander. Because they were a mighty people, and they still are to this day, and will fight to their very last breath before they would ever surrender. They have a no surrender fighting spirit. U.S. mulling seizure of strategic Karg Island, Iranian oil. So they're looking to cut off this island, which is just right south of Iran, in pretty much, if I recall correctly, it's right there underneath Iran. American analysts have floated the possibility of U.S. military seizing control of Iran's largest oil export terminal on Karg Island. So they're looking to sabotage, to steal it, like they did with Venezuela, right? To just take over the island, to drive everybody out. Senior U.S. official vowed to take control of Iran's oil on Friday as a devastating regional conflict triggered by the U.S.-Israeli terror attack against Iran neared its second week. Ultimately, we're not going to have to worry about these issues in the Strait of Hormuz, he said, referring to the strategic choke point vital for global energy. We're going to get all the oil out of the hands of Iran, the official said. Agent compared Iran to Venezuela, which effectively handed control of its oil industry to U.S. companies following D.C.'s capture of President Maduro, which is what he wanted. They kicked the people out. It's mine, 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 mine. And that's how he's still playing over here. Mine, 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 mine. Same thing with King Bibi. Mine, 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 mine. And who's going to pay, right? And they don't want to fight for the Israeli state. There's a lot of soldiers that are already, active duty that says, look, we don't want to fight Israel's war. Lebanon's death toll from Israeli terror attacks reaches 570. Democratic senator says Trump on path toward deploying troops in Iran. So it's there. So let's break that down if it's on here. Okay, so here we go. Also, Trump destroyed Iranian mine-laying vessels. U.S. military destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels, which could have been paintings. You know, I mean, we're now finding out that they have completely foiled a lot of their plots. Trump previously said the U.S. had completely destroyed 10 in Iraq, so they can't even get their story straight about that. Okay, so it's looking like King Bibi is alive. I mean, of course he would be. His brother was killed, though. I mean, just there's so much coming out. U.S. lawmakers worry Trump may send ground troops to invade Iran. U.S. president has been increasingly vague on his end game as the conflict drags on. President Trump could deploy American terrorists to Iran after classified briefings with administration officials left senators with what they described as significant unanswered questions about the war's objectives and scope. We seem to be on a path towards deploying American terrorists on the ground to Iran to accomplish any of the political objectives. Blumenthal told reporters, adding that he left the briefing dissatisfied and angry. The American terrorists deserve to know how much more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to their sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation and widening of the war, he said. Well, don't expect D.C. to give you a straight answer. They're going to lie to you. You got to remember, there's only 7 people killed, according to them. They ain't going to tell you that over 1,500 have been killed. Maybe even more than that. You know, because you're not getting those reports. Trump warns of consequences at levels never seen before if Iran does not remove mines from the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, you mean you're going to attack them? Oh, you're already attacking them. U.S. President Trump on Tuesday threatened Iran with unprecedented military consequences. You've already attacked. He added that removing the mines would be a giant step in the right direction. You know, threatening, okay. You're going to still invade our country, but you're going to do it less if we remove these mines? So, like everything else, though, you know. Like, yeah, we'll attack you less if you remove the mines. Trump threatens even harder strikes if Iran hits global oil supply. Pledges U.S. excursion nearly complete. Yeah, he also says that the war is almost going to be over soon. Trump pledges Iran excursion going to be ending soon. But Iran warned will be hit harder if it starts up again or if Tehran targets global oil supplies. When asked by a reporter, Trump refuses to say if new Ayatollah has a target on his back. Well, you know, don't want to give all their secrets away, right? Trump soon to talk about seizing Iran's oil, but does not rule it out. I mean, just, you know. And he's threatened to kill the new Ayatollah. Him and King Bibi have already done that. So, you know, you just got all kinds of, well, what can I say? Lies with a tablecloth, right? You know, they just keep on, you know, they keep on gaslighting you as to the outcome of this war. But like everything else, though, U.S. targets mine-laying vessels after Iran warns Trump of elimination. Iran's top security official dismissed U.S. President Trump's threats that he vowed to strike Iran 20 times harder if it continued to threaten the Strait of Hormuz in the retaliation for the U.S.-Israeli terror attacks. Even those greater than you could not eliminate the Iranian nation. Be careful not to be eliminated. Trump strongly criticized Ayatollah Khamenei, who has been elected as a supreme leader after killing his father. And this guy is going to avenge his father. He's going to stand up for everything his father stood up for, which is against the imperialism. So here's some of the footage, right? Now this video reloops, so there's not really much. It's like a 6 seconds thing, but they said that they killed mine lane vehicle. So he's going to hit them 20 times harder. You know? I mean, that's definitely what's coming out. And like everything else, though, W7 breaks this down, eye for an eye. Because that's what we're looking at. Eye for an eye. That should be the title of this.
This is W7. It looks like this war between the West and Iran is going to another level here. Iran vowing an eye for an eye. They are admitting that their new supreme leader, the son of Khomeini, has been injured or wounded in these strikes coming from Israel in the West. Now these have been
those are rumors
back and forth. We have got rumors floating around out there that the top brass of the Mossad was killed in these strikes. These again are rumors. We're waiting for confirmation on that, and also that Benjamin Netanyahu has been wounded or killed as well. That's a lot of speculation swirling around that. They hit Bibi's home or one of his residents, and his brother was killed. They admit that, so there was some confusion there maybe. But Bibi's nowhere to be seen. There's been no posts. There's been no proof of life, anything like that thus far. And in terms of Iran, naming a new leader may not be that smart. Trump says they know where they're all at. So as soon as they say that someone is the new leader, they're striking that position. Apparently, the new leader is still alive, but where this is going right now isn't good. Iran threatening to drop mines in the Straits of Hormuz, and the United States is saying that they're actually seeing this. When they're looking into it, they're seeing all the satellite footage and everything is showing small boats that are carrying mines, deploying them in certain areas, meaning there would be a very narrow path that they would keep guarded, that ships could only go through under their supervision. So this is an elevation in threats. The price of oil keeps going up and down, but if this isn't hashed out this week, you can guarantee that it's going to climb well back up over 100, march toward 150. And that's as many troops that have been wounded so far in this war. Troops,
that's the confirmed side.
Wounded, and this just continues back and forth. They're talking a ground operation. Blumenthal just walked out of a meeting and said that he's ticked to the high heavens. He can't get the answers that he wants, but it looks like we're heading for a ground war with Iran. So all these things popping off big time with this. It's not going away anytime soon. Join me for the live streams.
So, like everything else, this is World War III. Eye for an eye. And that's exactly what it is. He's going to avenge his father. Will they be able to kill him? Well, only time will tell. So I got a few more before I close this out, but I mean, it's just, you know, and not to mention the atrocities going on. Here's something else that happened in Lebanon, which you will not hear on the mainstream. Heinous crime. Iran denounces Israeli assassination of 4 Iranian diplomats in Lebanon. So they're still killing the Iranian leadership, you know, in every places that they might have once had the axis of resistance. And the axis of resistance was created to come against the Zionist entity. And Iran has sacrificed more trying to protect that area. And that's why they say what they say when they said, look, man, if we fall, everybody else falls with us. If you allow and you host U.S. terrorists there, you will become nothing but a pawn of the U.S. and Israeli scheme to control everything. You know, and like everything else, so that's also coming out, you know. In a letter to the UN General Guterres on Monday, the envoy said that on the 8th of March, the regime carried out a targeted strike against Ramada Hotel in Beirut, claiming the lives of the victims. Arvani notes that after the regime's military had publicly threatened to target Iranian official representatives in Lebanon, the diplomats had been temporarily relocated to the hotel as a safety measure. This relocation, he said, had been fully coordinated with the Lebanese authorities in his letter, but then they just totally shot them, and they killed them. You know, led an attack, killing them after promising them safety. Right? It's a heinous crime, absolutely. So, like everything else, though, there's I'm trying to find it here. I was reading it here. There we go. And this is coming from another senator. Hundreds of U.S. troops will be killed if Trump attempts ground invasion of Iran. And this is coming from another senator. A U.S. senator warned that hundreds of American soldiers are terrorists, I call them terrorists, will be killed if the administration of U.S. President Trump even attempts a limited ground invasion of Iran. Chris Murphy, member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, made the remarks in an interview with CNN, commenting on the possibility of sending U.S. ground troops of launching a covert operation to extract and smuggle enriched uranium out of Iran, which is suicidal. You know, because they're still trying to sell the story that, they were enriching uranium, well, they have enriched uranium, but, under the guise that they were going to build a nuclear weapon, which is a farce. Who's threatening to bomb Iran with a nuclear weapon? The Samson option. Who has nuclear weapons over there? Well, two of the main countries is Pakistan and the Israeli state, but Pakistan's not threatening Iran. In fact, they don't want to be dragged into the war either. But like everything else, though, this war is expanding, as this report goes into. And this seems to be a summary report, and this is one of the official news agencies, but not as bad as CNN, Fuck News, or PMSNBC. It was a little bit better.
The war between the United States and Iran is growing and expanding, at least as of now. 7 Americans are confirmed killed in the conflict as of today.
Yeah.
Casualties are rising.
But
Iran reported
it's a lot more.
supreme leader. Iran's assembly of experts selected Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini, the 56-year-old son of the late Ayatollah. Many analysts view Mojtaba as more radical than his father. He built strong ties within Iran's IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is the most hardline military faction in the country. He also played a role in slaughtering people after the 2009 protests in Iran. He will be winning any human rights awards.
Holy
Nevertheless,
shit,
he
is
received
this
the adoration of
propaganda
a huge
news.
crowd in Tehran after the announcement of his selection.
Yep. Iranian people are definitely
was not a crowd
with him.
gathered to greet Americans as liberators. Unlike his father, who sometimes balanced factions, Mojtaba's power base lies primarily in the most anti-American factions of the military and clerical leadership. He has the opportunity to change. We are describing the history to you accurately. So we killed the Ayatollah, and things may have gotten worse. Joining us now, retired Army Lieutenant General,
you open
former
a
National
can of
Security
worms.
Advisor to President Trump, former Director of National Intelligence for President Obama, General Michael Flynn. General, we now see
we remember him
in this war in Lebanon, in Iraq. Do you see the war as expanding or contracting in the current moment?
Yeah, I think it's expanding, Matt. I honestly, and I also think that we're going to see a front here in the United States of America. There's some reporting now of some communications that apparently have been intercepted about waking up some of these sleeper cells right here in America. So when we talk about
Here we go,
this
some
war,
false
this war
flags
is
coming
not
up.
going to be just isolated to the Persian Gulf or Iran or even some of the Middle Eastern countries that you just stated and you have on the screen here, like when we talk about Lebanon.
They have to do some false flags to get people to support the war.
Etc. I do think that we're going to see an expansion of it. They may not be as strong as they once were because, of course, their Navy's been destroyed. They're continuing the United States is continuing to pound their
that's what they say.
But the Iranian military is a powerful military, and I'm not sure we've even touched on their conventional ground force capabilities. I mean, they have a large artillery capability. They have a very extensive military, and hopefully some of these people in the conventional Iranian military will turn on the government and join the protesters. But I want people to understand that these guys have had like 40 plus years to prepare for this kind of thing, and this is not a third world country at all. It's a very sophisticated country.
Yep.
They have their
not Iraq
ideologically, but it's a relatively sophisticated country. One last point before Matt is that I want people to understand that Iran is almost 4 times the size of California, of the state of California, with 90 million people. This is not a small country like Iraq or Afghanistan or Vietnam.
At least she realizes that.
This is a gigantic piece of geography with 90 million people. So when we talk about, there's Kurds coming in from the north, or we've got, some small conventional or maybe some guerrilla fighting in some part of it. It would be like a local town in the southern part of San Diego that's trying to stop a criminal gang, but you have the rest of the state of California. Well, this country is almost 4 times the size of California. We need to keep that in mind.
Given that, do you think it's likely that the regime survives and that the IRGC is the principal force governing the country 30, 120 days from now?
Yeah, and this is going to be the $64,000 question. And this is, we're engaged. I'm not necessarily for this action, to be honest with you. You really want diplomacy to succeed. And what we've always said is that war is a failure of diplomacy. And I just heard President Trump's press conference that he just had. I caught some of the answers to his questions about the way he felt about how we had to go in here and do this. And that's fine. I mean, they made decisions, but the point now is we're here. We are engaged, and so. It's one of these old adages about, you may not want war, but war wants you. And once it gets a hold of you, Matt, it's very hard to extract. So at some point in time, and very soon, President Trump's going to have to figure out to declare victory and go home.
Some of the left-wing media are...
So, declare victory, you mean declare failure. But he'll never admit failure. The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, right? Those that dwell in the clefts of the rocks. These Edomites, man, but even those are still questioning this fierce king and cruel lord, right? U.S. bombs Iraqi PMU base as Iran war spillover widens. So it's spilling over, it's a wider conflict. Israeli terrorists reportedly landed near Najaf to install jamming and tracking radars to counter Iraqi resistance drones. Airstrike on the 9th of March struck a base in northern Iraq belonging to the PMU, a wing of Iraqi armed forces enjoying support from Iran. This is according to the Israelis. AFP reported that one PMU official attributed in the strike to U.S. terrorists, saying it hit a base near the town of Bartola, near the city of Mosul in Nineveh Governorate. PMU was established in 2014 after Shia leader Sistani called for volunteers to fight ISIS, which is the U.S. terrorist, after the group's capture of Mosul. And like everything else, though, you got some footage here when they targeted PMU, and which is an Israeli attack, it looks more like. Iraq has been attacked by Israeli state and the U.S. How much longer are they going to pretty much use them as a means? I don't think Iraq wants a war with Iran, which is about 3 times the size of Iraq. They don't want to be involved in another war. They already had an 8-year war with Iran and could not defeat them, even with the weapons of mass destruction, the chemical weapons that were being supplied by the U.S. and the Israeli state themselves, which they use as a means to say, oh, well, they still have weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, you should know, you sold it to them. You gave it to them, pretty much. But like everything else, though, again, we're seeing that the Lord of Hosts is being mustered to the battle. So we're seeing, we're seeing it in real time, Just pretty much, though, we're in that time that, we already know Jacob's trouble's already been here. We've already seen that in its full scale. That this fierce king and cruel lord has come down hard. And like everything else, though, he's beginning to turn on his own people. Most people do not support this war, despite, there are some, and I will say there are some that are MAGAs, that will support Trump no matter what, even if the idea that their kid could be sent to war. They'll say, oh, well, my kid's got, epilepsy, so they'll never send my kid, and so they think, okay, well, I'll just continually support him, And then you find out they do take people with epilepsy. Then you find out that they are taking people with disabilities. And she wasn't exempt from that. You fucking piece of shit, fucking goddamn cowardless women that support this war, or, you men, you're going to be grieving soon, too, to find out your son and daughter has been enacted into the Selective Service digitally, did not even sign up for it, and going to be deployed to fight a war, to fight this war, because that's what's happening. You know, the Most High is preparing a bloodbath for Esau, Edom, and everyone is going to be involved. But like everything else, remember, this is the Most High doing this. So this is what's going to happen. Everybody's going to be turned against each other. You know, because you already see the divide already since Trump has taken office again. You already see the divide with the Democratic Republican Party. You see that with, you know, just people around you. You know, they're either on one side or the other. They're dragged into this, you know, and this business as usual thing. Well, that's gonna come to a halt because you already see it is. Strait of Hormuz is closed, and gas prices are going up. You already see it, and like everything else, so everybody's going to be exhausted from this, you know, and they're going to start fighting against each other. Man, just one wrong thing to say or support for one or the other is going to cause them to snap and to, you know, pretty much take each other's heads off. Isaiah chapter 19 verse 2, and it reads, I will provoke Egyptians against Egyptians. Modern day Egyptians, talking about Esau, the Edomites against the Edomites. They will fight each one against his brother and each one against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of the Egyptians, which modern day Babylonians, America, and the Americans will become exhausted within them and emptied out. And I will confuse their strategy so that they will consult the idols and the spirits of the dead and mediums and soothsayers. You know, a lot of these people do still talk to the dead. You know, so that goes out. But like everything else, modern day soothsayers and all that is trying to get information from the mediums, which is a short word for medium is media, right? But they just get nothing but lies from the tablecloth, as you can tell. And I will hand the Egyptians, which are the Edomites, to hard and cruel master, Donald Trump, right? The mighty king will rule over them. You know, Trump says he's unlike any other. Declares the Lord of hosts. You know, and we already know that that's, Lord of hosts has many interpretations. But most of all, when everybody turns against America, you know, is what's going to happen. And this is talking about the economy here, verse 5. The waters of the sea will dry up, and the river will be parched and dry. The canals will become foul-smelling. The streams of Egypt will thin out and dry up. The reeds and the rushes will rot away. The meadows by the Nile, by the edge of the Nile, and the sown fields of the Nile will become dry and be blown away and be no more. Pretty much, though, what's going to happen is the economy is going to be totally bled and dried out. There ain't going to be nothing left. The fishermen shall lament, because you got to remember, a fisherman was the main way of economical things. So he's just seeing it, you know, as to what that was, you know, back then. But the economy of Babylon is going to be destroyed, because remember, he's seeing it in a future time, but you know, a future's past, meaning that, okay, you know, he's seeing Egypt, but at the same time, he's really seeing America. The fishermen will lament, cry out in grief, and all those that cast hook into the Nile will mourn, and those that spread nets upon the waters will languish. You know, that is all the businessmen, you know, all the investors, you would say, right? All investors are wanting to pull out now. Those who are the pillars and foundations of Egypt will be crushed, and all those who work for wages will be grieved in soul. You know, you're working, you know, working for no pay. You're only getting cents on the dollar. You know, you're not getting anything. You know, you're working all the fucking time. It's taking everything out of you, but you're not getting anything. Where are your wise men? Please let them tell you, and let them understand what the Lord of hosts, he has purpose against Egypt if they can. In other words, these people don't know shit about Bible prophecy. They don't know shit on what to tell the people, right? He's marching them into a war that they cannot win. And using actual scriptures and distorting them. You know, what's happening, though, especially when dealing with the prophecy about Armageddon, bring about Armageddon, which Pete Hegseth has already told them that they will bring about Armageddon, which is the mountain of troops, the mountain of Esau's troops, will be brought there for slaughter because Esau is Satan. He is that accuser that accuses us day and night. Satan is Esau, but he thinks that he's the only one, right? Because, you know, he's got JC and all that. Yeah, he's going to bring about Armageddon. And to what end is it, right? And it reminds you of, woe to those that desire the day of the Lord. For what end is it? Most High have mixed a spirit of distortion within her. Her leaders have caused Egypt to stagger in all that she does, as a drunken man staggers in his own vomit. You know, just pretty much so. You know, the shit that comes out of his mouth, the shit-talking president, and all the shit that they talk, is just nothing more than a staggering amount of vomit. It ain't nothing but vomit that comes out of the mouth. And those that echo Trump, the Trump supporters, even more vomit out the mouth. They're puking as they speak, man. They got puke breath everywhere, man. They're disgusting, you know, because if there's anything worse than Trump, this is a Trump supporter, because they sound just like Donald Trump. Everybody wants to be a MAGA, or they're against the MAGA and they're fully Democrat, as if the Democrats are any better. But you see where this division is, you see where this divide is, Egyptian against Egyptian. Most High is the one that's doing this, especially once their sons and daughters do get deployed. That's really going to change this, you know. There's not going to be any unity. They're not going to be singing, oh, say, can you sing? A lot of that's going to be lost. It's going to be fucking hilarious, and we're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy that, but keep in mind, in the midst of all this, oh yeah, especially once I start ushering in the program, the New World Order, meaning that everyone has to have a micro-CIA. You watch how even more divided this will be. And we're just at the beginning stages of this, because this whole Strait of Hormuz being closed, you know, we would tell you time and time again that that's just the beginning of things leading to the economic woes, which is going to lead to the death of the dollar. As you know, it's kind of dead already anyways, but it's just going to completely kill it, especially if those countries decide, you know what, yeah, we're going to trade, but we're going to denounce the U.S., and it's already happening. So they will have safe passage to the Strait of Hormuz, and we'll be dealing with other countries exclusively, you know, such as Russia and its allies, and they're going to say, fuck America. That's what's happening, and that's what Trump has done, because he's done nothing but raise tariffs, threaten his neighbors, threaten his allies, and they're saying, fuck Donald Trump. Fuck him. You know, and it's actually great to see. Trump is definitely a horse's ass and doesn't even know shit for Shinola, because the only thing he's really known for is to tank economies, to destroy his industries. Because remember, he was bailed out by the Rothschilds long ago. Yeah, it's a little bit of a rant and rave, but it's interesting to see it all happen in real time, knowing who this fierce king and cruel lord really is. You know, that he is Nero 47. So hopefully this has been edifying. Got one more here before I close this out. But the spirit of Egypt is melting as the Most High gathereth World War III, muster the Lord of hosts up to his battle. And that is in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and we're seeing it in real time. Well, Abad Babal, Brakathum Jehovah Elect, Shalom.
We end with a new chapter on a treasured celebration. 50 years ago, the American Freedom Train steamed across the country to mark the nation's bicentennial. On board, the best of Americana, seen by millions. This year, we're marking 250 years. In tonight's Weekend Journal, CBS's Natalie Brand reports that in the spirit of 76, that train is now a plane.
This week, a special Boeing 737 called the Freedom Plane touched down in the nation's heartland. On board, 9 prized, irreplaceable founding-era documents.
This is our first stop, the first time these documents have ever flown. So the chance to make Kansas City the first stop is one that we're very proud of.
Patrick Madden is the CEO of the National Archives Foundation.
And these documents declared independence, they won a war, and forged the constitutional democracy we cherish today.
An honor guard carried the precious cargo stored in steel boxes. The exhibit opens this weekend at Kansas City's National World War I Museum and Memorial.
There's a lot of requirements.
Matthew Naylor is the CEO.
Fortunately, at the museum and memorial, we meet those requirements in every respect. Humidity controls, light controls, and so forth.
Ahead of their travel, we visited the National Archives in Washington to see the priceless papers usually kept in vaults, like the Treaty of Paris.
I'm willing to bet that most people, Americans, have never seen this document.
Curator Jesse Krotz says they also include a rare draft copy of the Constitution with handwritten notes and oaths of allegiance signed by some of the nation's founding fathers.
George Washington held this piece of paper. Benjamin Franklin, he touched this piece of paper, and now you get to see it.
From March through August, they'll fly to museums in 8 cities in honor of America 250.
It's a great honor.
Houston's Museum of Natural Science is ready for big crowds. Dick Van Terenhout is the curator of anthropology.
This is part of our history. This is who we are. This is how we are bound together over time, 2.5 centuries.
Words that changed world history and shaped our nation's revolutionary start. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
All right, in the honor of America 250, all right? Everything's spiritual. All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who told me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Back at you with another live lesson through the Holy Spirit of the Rakakodash. Pray that this live lesson is edifying to the hopeful elect. All right, the great gathering for World War III, the Lord mustered the host of the battle. All right, another news and prophecy. Okay, got a few things I'm going to get into just to show you where we at in prophecy, man. Okay, and, in this 250th anniversary year for America is a major highlight, within prophecy, man, because we understand that the proud is going to fall, man. Okay, again, this headline as we bring out often, the average empire survives 250 years as America at death's door. And by the way things are looking, all right, as we've been saying through the Spirit, it damn sure looks like it, man. Lord willing. And we're only in the 3rd month of this new year, of 2026, and a lot's been happening. All right? The war with Iran, the Middle East, everything's intensifying. The Lord is gathering the nations, all right, in that part of the earth, in Western Asia, okay, for that final battle, all right? And let me get something real quick, thinking out loud. Scriptures talk about the better is the end of the thing, right? Let's get that in Ecclesiastes 7 and 8. Okay. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 8. And it reads, it says, better is the end of a thing. All right. Better is the end of a thing. And it's better for us because this is the end, Babylon the Great. This is the end of our final captivity, man. All right. Our salvation is near. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. And patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. All right. And America is known as the most proud. All right. And the most proud shall stumble and fall. Let's get that too. All right. Pride goeth before destruction, right? Let's get that in Jeremiah 50. Start at 28, read down to the point. All right. So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50. And starting at verse 28 here. And it reads, it says, the voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, our power, the vengeance of his temple. All right. So the chaos, the calamity, the uproars, everything that's going on in the earth, how the earth is literally turning up, the earth is on fire. All right, the spirit of war, these things are happening for the sake of his people, man, for the Lord's people. All right, the Israelites. In fact, let's read that in NLT, see what it says. Just curious. All right. Jeremiah 50:28 NLT. Listen to the people who have escaped from Babylon, as they tell in Jerusalem how the Lord, Yahweh Shai, our power, has taken vengeance against those who destroyed his temple. All right, and the temple now is his people. All right, we represent the temple. All right, let's read on here. So these things are happening for us. All right. This is verse 29. Call together the archers against Babylon, all you that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. It was heavy too, as we speak. All right. These nations have America surrounded. Okay. There was a news segment about a few days ago, and it spoke about how China's submarines
are very, very close to America's borders, man. All right? So people don't really understand that America is literally surrounded. Okay? It says, call the archers against Babylon, all you that been the bold camp against the round about, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she have done, do unto her. All right, so this is recompense season, man. This is the time of the Lord's vengeance. For she had been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. Verse 30, therefore shall her young men fall in the streets. All her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai. And I want to get into that too in a minute, because this draft is coming back. All right, a lot of people have been bugging out, as we talked about before, you know, watching all these reels and feeds online about, you know, the war in Iran, the missiles that are being dropped, you know, the talks of war. Because what they're saying is that this war is going to come to an end, but it's all bullshit, man. Okay? Iran is not running out of missiles. All right, we'll get into that a little later. Okay? It says, therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all of her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai. Verse 31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord power, Yahweh Shem Shai of hosts. And that's Babylon, man. America, the most proud. All right? O thou most proud, saith the Lord power of hosts, for thy day is come. You see? For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. Right? This is why, again, I played the the 250-year anniversary. Okay, because everything about it is spiritual, man. All right, the Lord said that the time has come, the time that I will visit thee, man. Okay, so Babylon is getting ready to be visited with death and destruction, war. Okay, it says, read it on, verse 32, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise them up. All right, so this is the last of America's glory. All right, like I said yesterday, we're watching the destruction of Babylon live, man. The fall of Esau live. Okay, he's not being raised up. He's not going back to his former glory. All right, his power, his authority is done. Okay, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him, man. Okay, America is going to be completely decimated, man. According to prophecy, according to the scriptures, man. Right? So moving on here. Okay, this is in trending topics or trending politics news. It says U.S. deploys doomsday nuclear command planes to the Middle East. All right. So remember the Joe Rogan podcast when Trump was on there, man. He said that some of the prophets say that World War III Armageddon is going to take place in the Middle East. All right. I believe he said that a couple years ago, I want to say. So why are they deploying doomsday planes into the so-called Middle East if it's not going to be war? Okay. Everybody's preparing for it, man. All right. U.S. deploys doomsday nuclear command planes to the Middle East. Let's read a little bit of this, and then we'll move on here. Just want to make a few points. All right. This is the U.S. military fleets. The U.S. military fleets of so-called doomsday planes have been spotted in the air as tensions spike following the outbreak of war with Iran. Flight tracking data shows multiple launches of the Navy's E-6B Mercury Strategic Airborne Command aircraft since the conflict began February 28th. The Hawking aircraft, built on modified Boeing 707 airframes, are designed to keep America's nuclear command system alive, even if the country's under attack. And I believe it can stay airborne for some days or weeks or so, right? It's basically it would be DC's nuclear command in the air if something were to happen on the ground level, right? It says the E-6B essentially acts as a flying command post and communications hub for the President and Secretary of War, equipped with specialized antennas capable of reaching nuclear-armed submarines operating deep underwater. A little bit more here. It says the aircraft can also communicate with satellites, land-based command centers, and underground missile facilities, giving U.S. leaders the ability to coordinate a nuclear response even if ground networks are destroyed. Yeah, see?
And like everything else, though, you saw some of this in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, when John Connor was in NORAD, and he got messages from the flights that were above the nuclear destruction that had come. And he said, who's in command? And John said, I am. Well, that's showing you what this was meant. Also, not just Terminator 3, but also take a good look at the movie By Dawn's Early Light. James Earl Jones plays in that movie, and that also deals a lot with the prospects of war and and nuclear destruction, right? Because that's what's coming to Babylon.
So it can stay airborne for quite some time, right? Last point, 2 E-6B flights were tracked over the United States on March 2nd. One aircraft traveled from the Gulf Coast before landing at Naval Air Station Patrick River in Maryland. Another took off from Oak Foot Air Base in Nebraska and later returned there, all right? So everybody's being deployed, all of that, man. Very heavy times, all right? Now, I want to just show this before we get into the main point, right? I caught this on the gram, right? Just to show you how finished America's military is, right?
Guys, this is the military. Oh Lord, I'm nervous. This is a different military. Oh, they're out there making TikToks and everything.
So these niggas making TikToks, man, dancing, goofing around and shit. Here it is. We at the point of Armageddon, man. All right, I want to read this real fast because I was like, man.
Yeah, these gay lords are going to be destroyed.
Goodness gracious, man. This is Jeremiah. Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 51. All right, this is your military. All right, Jeremiah 51, and I just want to start at let's start at 28. All right. Jeremiah 51 and 28, it says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, all right, which goes back to the Russians, and the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord, Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant, all right? So according to prophecy, Babylon is going to be completely wiped out, all right? It's going to be made desolate without inhabitant. Verse 31. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. All right, so we've seen videos throughout social media of people crying that they don't want to die for Israel. All right, a lot of these people who enlisted, really enlisted in the military for benefits, man. To get the education paid for, to get the new car. All right, whatever. You see, they don't understand that when they signed that contract. All right, it was to sign that contract, to be a sacrifice, man, for the country. So a lot of these, people that are in the military now didn't really consider that, man. And this is why the fears of war, people are scared to fight. All right. Again, the rhetoric about not dying for Israel. Okay. These people are in fear. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. Right. America's military is weak. They became as women. All right. Which is symbolic to the loss of might, man. Okay. America's military don't got it. All right. They have burned their dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end. All right. So they're not going to win the war. All right. It's already been prophesied. It's already been declared. And that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are frightened. Okay. We've been seeing tons of videos, man. People crying. I don't want to go to war. I don't want to die for Israel. This is not what I signed up for. Okay? Verse 33. But thus said the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, the power of Israel. The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. So we're in that time now. Okay? We're in the time of the threshing, the harvest, man. The Most High is getting ready to uproot this place, man. Okay? Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, there's a time and season for every purpose under heaven. All right? The time to kill, the time of war. You see? This is where we at. Right?
So they're coming after your high school kids now. But that's not enough to make you fucking pay attention. But yeah, they're sending documents home with kids from high school saying that they need to get their information for the military, and the kid has to sign it. They're not old enough to sign shit, but the parent has to sign it too if they want to opt out, or they want to let the military have their information for a draft. Yeah, you didn't think they were gonna hit your fucking house? You're so fucking stupid. I don't want to talk about politics, and I don't like the word. No. Oh, they're already coming for your college kids. Yeah, they're already on college campuses trying to recruit them to die for Netanyahu in Israel. But that's not enough to get you to talk about uncomfortable shit. Any parent who does not put their life in danger to protect their own child, and I know you won't do it for pedophile fucking cannibals, but you know what? Any parent who does not put their life between themselves and their child from danger and being offered up to the demon ball, because that's all the military is going to do, you deserve to lose your kid. You deserve to lose your life. You're a fucking piece of shit and a failure. Go back on your Netflix and your little fucking video games and pay your fucking taxes. And
Or Wizard 101.
boy. Fuck you. Free Palestine.
Adding on to what I brought out before, and this will know it. Why missile alerts and war updates trigger doom scrolling. All right, this is what these young generation kids are looking up. Right? You know, man, I remember about what 5 years ago, I want to say 6 years ago, whenever it was, and they had the it was the draft site, I want to say, and it basically crashed because people were like bugging out because they thought the nuclear war was going to take off back then. All right, so people are scared, man, in great fear. All right, a combination of war alerts, breaking news updates, and algorithmic feeds are trapping users in a threat monitoring loop. All right, people don't want to die, man. People don't want to go to war, but it's going to happen. All right, this is the will of Yahweh Shem Shah. Let me make a point real fast. Bear with me. All right, let me let this computer catch up. All right, the draft is coming, man. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 16. All right, bear with me. All right, so 2nd Ezra 16, and we start at verse 32, I want to say. Okay? Okay, so this is 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 32. It says, and the earth shall be laid waste. And how is that going to happen? Through war. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel therethrough. It's going to be a shortage of men. It's going to be a shortage in people, man. All right? People are going to be drafted to this war. All right? They're going to sacrifice these American people. All right? For the name of the tiny tots, man. All right? Verse 33. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. All right, the young women. Right, the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Man, okay, it's going to be a shortage of men in that time. Why? Because there's going to be a lot of death. All right, mass casualties. Okay, verse 34. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. See that? So that draft is definitely going to happen. Okay. Every day we're drawing closer and closer, man. You know, let me get one more. It was in Isaiah, the 3rd chapter, I want to say. All right, bear with me. All right. People are shook, man. Okay, it was Isaiah, the 3rd chapter. Hold on. Let's pull that up real fast. All right, Isaiah 3 and 25. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war. All right, what war? World War III. Okay, nuclear Armageddon, right? Here we go. So let's get into this real quick, man. We'll get into the main point. All right, because the Lord again is he's gathering, right? What is it? My audio went out. Hold on, it said my audio went out. Bear with me. Let me come back. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
And you can catch the rest of this video on his channel. Shalom. Barak Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatum, Jehovah Olek, Shalom.